Denny Hamlin made some interesting comments regarding how he will race the Daytona 500 on Sunday, if indeed it gets in. There is rain in the forecast, but Denny Hamlin said that he is going to be out for himself and what is the best for the number 11 car, and he will not be racing for his teammates, albeit he does indicate that there are uses for teammates, obviously, with pitch strategy and potentially towards the end of the race in a draft situation. Uh, but before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at John Trent Racing. Let's get into this here. He was asked an actually interesting question by Front Stretch, and this is what Denny Hamlin had to say.
In terms of strategy for the Daytona 500 and even the duels, how much of a difference does it make to have 8 or 9 Toyotas in the draft instead of 6?
I mean, it's yet to be seen. I touched on it a little bit this week, but really being able to have our own strategy, our pitting strategy, is beneficial. I don't, I'm just kind of torn on what exactly, how, working together is beneficial and this, that, and the other. I think it's probably in my best interest to get back to the basics, and that's doing what I feel is best to win the race for myself. While having teammates and all is great, I think those are certainly assets you can use to win races in certain situations, but I think that sometimes it's those who are the most selfish that make moves for themselves are the ones that wins the race. I think that Ricky Stenhouse had no teammates last year. He won the race, and we've certainly had our fair share of moments where we had to pick between a move a teammate made versus a move someone else made, and I deemed that the other person made the right move, and so those lead into what I would argue is a more successful result for the 11 car. That still, you want to help your teammates as much as you can because you'll need those allies throughout the race and certainly during it. But I feel as though I need to personally go back to the style in which I had a few years ago, and we'll see what those results net.
So that is what Denny Hamlin had to say. His answer was a little bit wishy-washy. He obviously talks about how he is going to have to use his teammates potentially for pit strategy and all of those things. We have seen that obviously work in the past where they pretty much all break up by manufacturer. And even then, that can kind of get a little bit chaotic. There's miscommunication. Certain drivers might miss the pit, et cetera, et cetera. So you're not always going to be able to rely on your teammates if those kind of miscommunications and mistakes happen. And then at the other end of the coin, he's talking about how, hey, when it comes down to winning the race, it's all about me. I'm not going to try and push my teammate, whether that's Christopher Bell or maybe even one of the 2311 cars to the win. He's going to be looking at how to achieve victory for him and his car and his team. So I definitely do think that it is a wishy-washy answer, but it's also, that's part of racing, right? The reality is there are teams, you have teammates, you have manufacturers, you are going to work together on the pitch strategy. You are probably going to work together maybe in the draft early on in the race, but when push comes to shove at the end of the race, I think you're going to be looking out for you as you try and win the race. You're not going to be, hey, let me go push Bubba Wallace to the win. Let me try and win. I'm not going to push Christopher Bell to the win. I'm going to try and make that move. So as Denny Hamlin says, we'll see if that thinking, that strategy, that tactic works out for him. I think that is kind of what he should be doing in the first place. That's what you want. You're there to win. You're not there to finish second, right? You're there to win. But I actually do kind of agree with Denny here. I as much as I described his answer as wishy-washy, which I do think it is, I think there is some nuance to it. And I just don't think he kind of explains it as well as he might have, as he should have. But let me know what you guys make of what Denny Hamlin had to say here. Let me know in the comments below.